Hey guys, I know me and Miss Cox are not here today. We are on a trip with the 6th grade honors chorus, but you're about to take your post test, and I didn't want you to have to take that test without a review. So what we're going to do is we're going to review, and so in order for this to work, you've got to participate with me. And if you feel silly, imagine how funny I feel in this empty workroom recording, talking to myself. Well, the students probably think I'm crazy walking by too. So anyways, well, let's get started. So you're going to be taking your post-test. It is very similar to your pre-test. And I know you know the material, so don't worry, you're going to do great. And the first thing we're going to review is that the test is on pitch, okay? And the definition of pitch is the highness or lowness of a tone, okay? The highness or the lowness of a tone, all right? So the next thing is that on the board, we have 2 sets of lines. Each set has how many lines? Patrick. Yes, 5 lines. Very good. And Brianne, what is that called? A staff. Very good. Now we said a staff has 5 lines, right? And it always has 5, no exceptions. But we have 2 sets of lines here. So those together can make one large staff, and it's going to have 2 different clef signs, and when those are combined, it's called what kind of staff? Giovanni. A grand staff. Very good. So, in order to tell the staffs apart, they have to have a clef sign. The highest staff is always called what kind of staff? Cheyenne. Treble. Very good. So right here, just to be sure, let me calibrate the board real quick. So this top line is called the treble. And I'm going to draw a treble symbol very slowly, reviewing the steps we learned. So we're going to draw a horizontal line all the way through the staff. Then we're going to start a circle to the right, a semicircle to the 4th line. Will also look like a capital D maybe. And then we're going to follow the circle on around to the left, gradually getting bigger to our first line. And then we are going to wrap it around the 2nd line, which is also known as G. Okay? So that's our treble clef. Okay? And who can tell me what our other clef is called? Francisco. What is the bottom clef called? Bass clef. Very good. So for the bass clef, I'm going to count up to which line? The 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to draw a dot on the 4th line. Then I'm going to circle around, making a shape similar to an ear. And then I'm going to put a dot on each side of that 4th line. Very good. And so now I have my treble and bass clef that together give me a grand staff. Very good. So now that we've reviewed what the staff is, and we've reviewed the treble clef and the bass clef, we're going to move on to the note names, okay? We have learned about rhythm, and we know the type of notes. It can be a quarter note, a half note, or a rest. But what we want you to know is the name of the note. And the name of the note is always going to be one of your musical alphabet letters, okay? So to make it a little easier, I'm going to write the musical alphabet for us, so we all know what it is. And I hope you can see it. It's going to be right here. We're going to start from the bottom since that's the way it goes in the staff. So A, B, those are the letters. We use the first 7 letters in our musical alphabet. And now we're going to put those onto our staff in the correct place. So, Michael, can you tell me an acronym or a way we can remember what the spaces are on the treble clef? Face. Very good. And before I write it up there, Rebecca, do you remember what the acronym is to remember the lines in the treble clef? Good. Every good boy does fine. So let's go ahead and add those. We're going to do the spaces first. So F, A, C, E. And we're going to add the lines. E, every good, B, boy, D, does, F. Fine. Okay? So we remember our note names because we're using the alphabet for the treble clef. So now let's see if we can add the bass clef. Let me think in my brain, who have I not called on to tell me how we can remember the spaces for the bass clef? How about Christina? Do you remember how we remember the spaces for the bass clef? There's a couple of them. Okay, all cows eat grass is one. Very good. And Patrick, do you remember another one that you told us? All cows eat grass. Very good. And then before we go, let's also discuss what our lines are. Maya, do you remember how to remember the lines of the bass clef? Sounds like the first one. Good boys do fine, always. Okay, so let's add those up there. We've got all. We'll try again. All cows. Actually, I'm going to go back and do this in green. Remember, all cows eat grass. And then our lines are good, G, boys, B, do, D, fine, F, always, A. Okay? So those are our lines and spaces. Those are our lines and spaces. Now, the last thing we need to review is the way notes can move. Okay, the way notes can move. So I'm going to erase, actually I'm just going to draw us a line so we know that we're on this side of the board now. And we know from rhythm that actually a line like that would be called a bar line. And so now we're going to draw some notes. Okay, I'm going to draw some notes. First one, I'm going to draw right here. And when drawing notes on the staff, we say we have to be very careful. And so you can't really see on the video, I bet, but this note is kind of in between. There's some of it touching the line, but there's some of it touching the space. Would that be good? No, it's not very clear, so you have to be very careful. And if you were drawing a note on the line, then you want to make sure that it is right in the middle of the line. And if you're drawing a note on the space, you know, make sure it's right in the space only. Okay, so the first thing we need to cover is what is the distance between two notes called? What is the distance between two notes called? Avery, do you remember? An interval. Okay, I'm going to write out here. can you tell me what neighboring notes like these I've drawn, if there's only one space between them, so they're right next to each other, what is that distance called? This is the 3 different ways notes can move, and this is the smallest one. The smallest one. It is a step. Okay, so this would be a step. Okay. And what else have I not called on? Hold on, I'll think of the name. Haley. Haley. What is the next type of movement we can have where it's not close together, it's not a neighboring step, but there's one in between? It's not a step, but it's called a what, Haley? A skip. Okay? A skip. So if we go from this line to the second line, that is called a skip. Okay? And so we've got one other form of movement. All right, one other form, and it's any movement larger than a skip. Larger than a skip. And I don't have a roster in front of me, so I'm trying to think of you sitting in class. Is there anybody I've missed? I think I've called on everybody, but just in case, if I've not called on you, tell me the answer to this. What is it called if you have an interval larger than a skip? It's called a lead. Let's draw us a lead in blue. So if we went from here to here, that would be called a lead. Okay, I think we have covered everything that is going to be on your test. I'm going to roll this closer so you can get one more look at the board in case you need it. Leave this up there for just a second. All right, and I know you will all do great on your test. If not, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it when we get back. I hope you all have a fabulous weekend, and me and Miss Cox will see you on Monday. Good luck on your test. Don't talk. Do what you're supposed to do.